One of my favourite paintings in the National Gallery in London is Caravaggio's Supper at Emmaus. But what is it? And what is going on in the painting? Christ has risen from the dead, and he appears in another form some days after his crucifixion to two of his disciples who are on their way to a place called Emmaus. We know that they are pilgrims, as one of them wears a shell on his clothing to symbolize this. The two men stop at an inn to rest and get some food, and he joins them to eat. And they don't know who he is yet, but during the meal, Christ reveals himself by performing the blessing of the bread. And at that moment, suddenly, the apostles realize, it's you, Jesus Christ, and he has risen from the dead. And they are astonished. And at that precise moment, when they realize, he disappears. But what we are seeing is the moment just before, when he reveals himself. Like a cinematographer, Caravaggio has painted this precise moment of revelation, which is something that he did over and over again in his paintings. For example, the calling of Matthew or doubting Thomas. And in this scene, on the way to Emmaus, the innkeeper is looking down at this man with a skeptical expression on his face, as if he thinks, can this man pay the bill? He doesn't know it's Jesus Christ, and Caravaggio shows this by leaving the innkeeper's hat on. So this painting then becomes a painting about those who can see Jesus Christ and those who cannot see him. Caravaggio has no time for the pretensions of high Baroque art. Although he is considered a Baroque artist, he is actually something else. In the world of Caravaggio, when a miracle like this takes place, there is no flash of lightning or angels descending from heaven. You, the viewer, will have to understand what you are witnessing, because not everyone will, as we see with the innkeeper. So there are those who can see the miracle take place, like the two pilgrims, and there are those who don't, like the innkeeper, who doesn't take his hat off in the presence of Jesus, who is born again. Caravaggio is asking us, the viewers, can we see it too? Can we see how God reveals himself to us? On the table, we see a bowl of fruit. Do you recognize it from somewhere else? This bowl of fruit, as he often does in his art, symbolizes this earthly mortal life with all its nuances and imperfections, but at the same time, it is a symbol of redemption, hope, and salvation in the form of apples with wormholes, which alludes to the flesh that perishes when you die, and then grapes that are a symbol of the wine and the blood of Christ that saves people from sin and death when Christians take communion. If we look even more closely at the shadow, can you see that it takes the form of a fish, which is one of the earliest symbols of Jesus Christ and his followers? And this symbolic bowl of fruit is perched right on the edge of the table, so it might fall to sin or it might be redeemed. But that question is not answered. Also, if you look at Christ's hands, one is raised to save and one is cast down to judge and condemn. But this is why Caravaggio is such a genius of art, because he frames this in a cinematic way that asks the viewer to decide whether the bowl of fruit will fall or be saved, or whether ourselves will fall or be saved. But it all depends on whether we can see it, and whether we too agree with the two disciples in the painting that this is in fact Jesus Christ himself. Can you see it? There is light And there is darkness in this world, as in Caravaggio's paintings, but it is up to us to choose between them. And sadly, as we know from Caravaggio's life, he mostly chose the darkness.